we had a general overview of climate change, we'll deal with attribution of extreme events. So I'll first generally talk about detection and attribution. And among climatologists, we often throw in detection and attribution as if it's one word and one thing, but they're really two separate things. The first is detection. Can we detect a statistically significant change in the climate? And then the second part is attributing it. And when we talk about attribution, we're usually talking about it to anthropogenic climate change, human-induced causes. Can we attribute it to climate change? The analysis almost always involves comparisons to models. Not always, but almost always. And so do the models with increases in greenhouse gases show this change, while the models with no increases in gases do not? You can't attribute any single event to global warming. The science has essentially moved on. As we wrote in our paper once, it is now widely accepted that attribution statements about individual events are possible provided proper account is taken of the probabilistic nature of attribution. A little nerdy for communication. So to give an example, we'll use a baseball analogy. Your favorite baseball player is just in a really hot streak. He's stronger and he's hitting more home runs and he's really doing great. And you watch him play and he hits a ball out to center field and you manage to catch it. And you catch the ball. And then the next year they start adding strict steroid testing. And he stops being quite so bulky and he's hitting 20% less home runs. And you realize you caught this ball when he was on steroids. Was this home run due to steroids or was it due to his natural ability? And we can't attribute it as a binary choice, but we can say then that you had a 20% chance that this home run was due to steroids. And that's the kind of probabilistic nature that we're talking about in terms of climate change, of individual events. We're not saying it was completely due to it in most cases, but we're saying, what is the fraction of applied risk we're dealing with? And indeed, some people have referred to carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases as the steroids of the climate system, because once you have the atmosphere warmer, it can hold more water vapor, and then you can get different kinds of storms and other things really hitting in. There's lots of different types of research going on in the world, and I like to view this kind of work as use-inspired research. The climate change has made some events less likely and some more likely. And knowing which events are becoming which can help impact decisions and inspire actions, and particularly adaptation decisions. And we see events every couple of weeks, and we certainly just saw one now that shows that we're not adapted to the current climate, let alone the future climate. And adapting to the current will help us adapt to the future, and adapting to the future would help make us more robust to the current. So one of the other concerns is that shortly after an event hits, there's a policy window. Zoning changes and require hurricane clips in houses. Those happen shortly after the event, and so the sooner you get the paper out, the better. We're hoping that this type of science will become commonplace enough that it won't wait for our big final report. But the report can be obsolete because the science would be done in closer to real time, not 6 months or a year later, but in just a few months afterwards. And this is not a real conclusion about this, but just kind of commenting on the different types of research of what Useinspired. Niels Bohr did some pure research, understanding the nature of the atom and that there was a nucleus in it. And Thomas Edison took the research of some of the science and applied it to building all sorts of really neat things. But it was Louis Pasteur who really had use-inspired research, where he obviously, discovered pasteurization and immunization and stuff. And that's the kind of area that I think is a really fertile ground for the focus of the research, kind of the stuff that Mike is doing and I've been involved in as well.